You're listening to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
It is Thursday, May 30th. We get a scoop today. We get to check in with our friends from the Office of International Mission, see what's going on in LCMS mission work around the world. And such a joy to have in studio this morning the Reverend Daniel McMiller. He's director of LCMS Office of International Mission. Dan, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And also joining us in studio this morning, Mr. Christian Boehlke. He's Associate Executive Director for St. Louis Operations, the LCMS Office of International Mission. Did I get all that right?
Yeah, you sure did. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
A lot of words.
Practiced it a few times.
That's the abbreviated type.
I feel like you need an acronym for that.
Well, glad to have you all in studio this morning, and would love to share with our listeners just an update on what's going on in international mission around the world. I know that both of you have been traveling to and constantly connected with our missionaries as well, thanks to a great service on the internet as well to be able to have those face-to-face meetings with our missionaries and regional directors and know what's going on. So what are the different regions in which LCMS International Mission is working today?
We have approximately 120 missionaries, most of them career, about 20 some that are 2-year terms of service, which we've used the term GEO, Globally Engaged in Outreach title, but it's basically a shorter term of service for people right out of college or maybe post-retirement. But we have people in Asia, South Asia, East Asia, Central Asia, Europe, Africa, East and West Africa, and throughout Latin America, we're spread across the globe, about 120 households. And it hit me the other day. That's the size of about a district. The problem is it's in 30-some countries and probably working in
a
an
non-geographic
40.
district.
And, a non-geographic district, you bet.
I saw some pictures on the Latin America Caribbean page, I think just this week, that there's been a lot of exciting things happening down there. What are some of the things happening down in Latin America?
I was just there for, we had a meeting, a very important meeting there. At mutual agreement, I asked Pastor Bob Zagor, the Executive Director of National Mission, and Dr. James Boehlke, the Director of Pastoral Formation, to come down and along with Pastor Ted Cray, the Regional Director, Dr. Art Just, the Associate Executive Director. He's in charge of Latin America region, helping fill in a position that I used to hold, and he's doing it so ably since he's been long associated with Latin America. He's half-time. But we were there to talk about how the significant progress that's been made in the Central American region or Caribbean region and parts of South America, particularly Peru and Bolivia of late, how can we utilize some of that forward momentum and alignment between all of our partner churches and pastoral formation and a lot in the area of resources? And then also our missionary expertise and the relationships we have with all of these church body leaders. How can we perhaps serve the second largest Spanish-speaking country in the world more effectively in its own Hispanic outreach, namely the United States of America? And so we had some meetings on that, and then there was a workshop, a theological workshop, a symposia to address suffering, and it was very well done. We had presenters from Latin America and from the United States, and talked a great deal about with great presentations on the church suffering throughout the ages, and what does Scripture say to that? What does the early church, what did the Reformation say to that? And so that was done at the seminary, the new seminary complex. It's very small. I'm quite humble, quite frankly, in Palmar Arriba, outside of Santiago, Dominican Republic. And there were about, 40 Latin American church bodies represented, plus about 15 seminarians. It was very exciting.
And there was a graduation that happened.
The first graduates of the seminary in that seminary in Santiago, which is a new venture, but going quite well, quite well. So that's, there are about 500 million Spanish-speaking people in the Western Hemisphere, 500 million, and we haven't had a new seminary in 60 years, and we've lost some seminaries in the process. So this is long overdue to have an additional Spanish-speaking seminary. I commend everyone who's been involved in that task. And the cooperation we've had with both of our seminaries here in the United States in that venture.
So things are going well, it sounds like, in Latin America and the Dominican Republic. Definitely, we see a lot of activity and just great growth there.
Yeah, growth in terms of outreach, evangelism, catechesis, church planting, that takes a long time to get the attraction on that. You can't send a person in and overnight plant a church. But we're seeing traction, not only in the Dominican Republic, but places like Peru, new partnerships in Bolivia. Belize is new. And then our existing partners, whether it's Venezuela, which is going through great suffering and in need of our mercy support. Mexico, tremendous growth around the border, and we've been working hard on trying to bring the Mexican churches all along the American border, as well as in the Distrito Federal down in, they call it DF, Mexico City, bringing them into alignment and working together more effectively and having a common route to ordination. So there's wonderful things occurring, and I'm sure I'm leaving out many things.
Well, and that really highlights the the generational aspect of the work, something that we've been talking a lot about lately. Whether we're in the midst of recruitment or orienting new missionaries, this doesn't happen overnight, and the work of one family and one household on the field contributes to that generational length of the work. And as we look back at the years and history, that allows us to look forward and see what's possible as well, as we continue to proclaim the gospel around the world.
Let's head over to Africa and the work happening in Africa. We just have about 4 minutes left.
Oh boy!
I know. What's
over-prepared.
Tell us about the work happening in Africa today.
Well, real quickly, East and West Africa, we do have new relationships with smaller church bodies that are coming to us. Many, whether it's Rwanda, Tanzania, Malawi, and other countries, South Sudan. But in West Africa, the biggest challenge we have right now in Francophone Africa is probably the Democratic Republic of the Congo, formerly Zaire. And that country, boy, if you Wikipedia that, it's I've been reading a book on the history of Africa. It's very war-torn, and it's still very dangerous. But there are about possibly 10 Lutheran church bodies in that country, and it is a country we can't access as Westerners. So we are sending, in a matter of days, a delegation of Congolese men who have become members of our clergy roster. One's a vicar in the EIIT program here in St. Louis. The other one's an ordained pastor with whom I worked in South Wisconsin. I helped him through his route to ordination, and he's planting 4 Francophone churches in Wisconsin. Wow. But both of these men have family in the interior of the DRC, and they're going to help us develop some of the relationships there. We can't go simply because of dangers. The last time Pastor Gary Schulte and his wife Steph were there, they narrowly avoided kidnapping, and then there's also just a lot of disease, and it's very, very remote where the main work has to be done. And West Africa is a continual trial because there's wonderful opportunities, but we have, and Christian talked to this, the challenge of safety. Yeah, Christian's worked on that a lot.
Yep. Wanting to go to the ends of the earth and yet care for and understand the safety concerns for your people, and balancing that tension and praying for wisdom as we make decisions about where to send people and what work to engage in.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a little under 2 minutes left. What's happening in Europe and maybe Asia?
Well, Baltic states are hopping. The church outside of St. Petersburg, or the seminaries in Koltushe, the Ingrian Lutheran Church of Russia, they recently separated from the LWF, but we have missionaries there, and Dr. Charles Courtwright, Pastor Jerry Lawson, soon to join there, Alyssa Anders, and Sarah Harms, teaching ESL, the 2 ladies doing great work. But we have a wonderful relationship there and building up that seminary. Also in Latvia, in Riga, the church body there has about 280 congregations. It is the church of the country, about 250,000 members, and Bishop Bonog's there is asked for our help. So we have Dr. John Bombaro, his wife Melinda. They're going there to teach at the seminary. And believe it or not, in Riga, Latvia, that's an English-speaking seminary.
Oh, wow.
So we have new ventures there. And then Lithuania has come a long way. We have a wonderful relationship there. So if you go from Latvia, Lithuania, into outside of St. Petersburg, there's a lot of new momentum and movement, and we're thankful for that, and men and women willing to serve there.
How can we follow what's going on in international mission?
Well, many missionaries have newsletters, and you can visit us at international.lcms.org as well for news stories and updates about the work that's happening around the world.
The Reverend Daniel McMiller, Director of LCMS Office of International Mission, Mr. Christian Boehlke, LCMS Office of International Mission Associate Executive Director. Thank you so much for being our guest on the Coffee Hour today.
Thank you.
Both.
The Coffee Hour with Andy and Sarah is a production of KFUO. To support the Coffee Hour and KFUO Radio, visit KFUO.org. You can also text KFUO to 41444 or send an email to gifts@KFUO.org. And you can call us at 800-844-0524. KFUO. Christ for you, anytime, anywhere.